Now, let's consider what the videographer does when shooting the close-up camera. Start each number with the whole stage framed, unless it's clear that the piece is for one or two dancers and the dancer's position on the stage is obvious. The beginning of each dance, when the lighting goes from dark to very bright, is the most difficult part to assure focus. Your camera should be zoomed out enough that it can replace the wide camera if it's out of focus or misses the opening for some other reason. Here are some tips for getting good video from the close-up camera. Always strive for an image that is 100% usable in case the wide camera has a problem. All zooms should be slow and controlled. Use of the servo helps. Pans and camera movements should be smooth and deliberate. Frame the close-up allowing about 20% of space above and below the dancer's hands and body. If the dancer leaps out of frame, the main shot should have it. Isolate dancers or small groups of them as much as possible. Avoid cutting off parts of dancers' bodies on the edges of your shots for more than brief periods. Zoom in or out to either totally exclude the arm of a nearby dancer or pull that dancer completely into the frame. Aim to capture at least 3 close-ups of each dancer during each number. The more the better. Try to give each child within reason the same prominence and screen time. Some dancers are just naturally spellbinding, but try not to spend too much time on them to the exclusion of others. Zoom as needed to keep similar framing of dancers on different parts of the stage.
Shoot with the choreography in mind. The shooting method is dictated by the dancers' positions and the action. If the dancers are spread evenly across the stage and all doing the same steps, use a panning shot. Begin a panning shot with phrasing of the music. Begin at one end of the line and move to the other end smoothly and uniformly. Avoid extra space before the first dancer in a pan and after the last one. The empty space is useless and cuts off other dancers unnecessarily. If the dancers are in small clusters with space between the clusters, lock on each cluster for about 10 seconds, then move smoothly to the next. When possible, get to all clusters before the movement changes. If time runs out, head next to the group that was missed, as their movement can often be anticipated. When action moves from one group to another, anticipate the movement and attempt to capture it. This is not easy. A common approach in choreography is to have a dialogue. One group performs to a phrase of music, and the second group reacts while the first poses. This action typically goes back and forth more than once. One way to catch it is by staying on one group through a cycle and then moving smoothly to the other for the next cycle.
Tap numbers give opportunity to get some good or bad foot action and are one of the few times when the close-up camera can get tight shots of a body part. The best shots are of advanced dancers, either isolated individuals, a tight subgroup, or a tight formation of a large group. The little beginners can be cute if the costuming of the feet is something special. Otherwise, it's typically a bit of a mess. If the shot doesn't look good, it's worthless. Give it up. Don't wait. Go back later when a better chance comes up. Keep the shot to under 15 seconds. Zoom into the feet just ahead of a phrase to be in position when the phrase starts. For theatrical numbers, follow the action no matter what. When a performer has a solo piece, even though only one line, try to be there for it. If a performer is singing rather than dancing, move in for an upper body shot rather than keeping the whole body in the frame. At the end of a dance number, if the dancers dance off into the wings and if there is sufficient light, come in close to get the individual kids as they leave the stage. If the dance ends in a pose, come in tight on it until the lights come down. After the lights go down, pull out for the start of the next number. Look for the points of light to help reposition the camera. Being zoomed in too close is a common mistake for even experienced shooters. If you are zoomed in too close, the shot has a claustrophobic feel, and you will lose hands or feet from the image too often. We shoot in HD and can zoom in a little during the edit, so be conservative and allow a little extra space around the edges. Your job is to focus on specific dancers, but don't frame the shot so that you unnecessarily cut off other dancers. This is especially true when trying to make sure you get the dancers at the end of the line. Don't put them in the middle of the frame, as this will cut off the dancers on one side and leave empty or dead space on the other side. On numbers with lots of footwork, especially tap numbers, don't forget to zoom into the feet. But also, don't hold the zoom for too long. The best time is not always easy to predict, but look for opportunities to get good action. Moving the camera too much, over-zooming and jerked movements can be unusable or at least require a lot of time in the edit. If your shot is in the wrong place when the action starts somewhere else, you usually won't be able to get to the action in time. In that case, just make sure that the shot you have is usable if it's needed. On the other hand, if you suddenly have no shot at all, do whatever it takes to reestablish a shot somewhere else on the stage. One of the most difficult parts of shooting close-up is maintaining an awareness of what is happening outside your frame and anticipating what will happen next. Make sure a pan gets all the dancers. Erratic spacing on the stage can fool you into thinking you've gotten all the dancers, but there are actually one or two more dancers further out. If the dancers in your frame are not moving, it can be a tip-off that you're missing something somewhere else on the stage. A final easy mistake to make is staying on a subgroup too long. In a 2-minute number, 10 seconds is probably the maximum. Try to get close-ups of all the dancers several times throughout a number rather than concentrating them. If the focus is on a subgroup too long, the editor may be forced to use the same close-up several times in succession, and the resulting video will not have a balanced presence of close-ups of all the dancers.
Thanks so much for your time and attention. We hope that this video has been helpful. Please let us know if you have suggestions.